What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Hope you all had a good ass trading day. If you don't trade, I just hope you had a good day then. Um, Today was a bullshit day for my mindset. And what I mean by that is I had a good analysis and I didn't stick to it well enough to where I ended up taking an unnecessary loss, maybe two unnecessary losses, and then a break even trade that could have been a winning trade. So, in my eyes, I had a good analysis and then just didn't prepare well enough to be kind of convinced by the idea of what I wanted to see. So, off pre market, right, I was a bit more leaning towards bullish, right? So, I noticed we, right, traded into this support zone on Friday. We respected it, had a nice rally after that. Market is now pricing in and expecting a rate cut in December. So market is reacting nicely off that. Um, and that's pretty much what I've seen in terms of like fundamentals. So yeah, I was kind of watching London low and pre-days low. Those are my main draws in liquidity. I was also open to trading towards pre-days high. Wait, London low and pre-days high. Those are the two draws that I was focusing on. And that was pretty much like my initial framing. Okay, we have London low and we have previously high. Those are like big targets for me, right? I want to be able to target these ideally. And then past that, I didn't really have much on the downside. I had this 1 hour immediate low, the previous week's value area low, and then to the upside, I had previous week's POC and previous week's value area all the way up here. And then you see there's a couple of fit levels up here. This is just basically from the dump we had on Thursday all the way down to Friday's low. I drew a fib from there, and I wanted to watch for these levels because if we wanted to continue bearish, we would probably respect these. So I wanted to be aware of that, right? I think the 0.5 did get tapped at a certain point. The 382 was not getting, yeah, the 0.5 was already like right there. So pretty much the same idea. If we trade into pre-say high and get some rejection, we could see shorts playing off there. So I basically told myself, I want to watch how we react to these levels. I'm open to shorting off previous day's high if we get a good reaction, right? But gotta be aware that we have like overnight VWAP below us. We also have a 1 hour fair value gap, a 15 minute fair value gap, and truly open. So there's like a lot that can like be found as support. So that's kind of like my thought process going into the day. Um, and I was like, okay, cool. We ended up just ripping higher of the first 5 minutes of open. And I was already framed out the trade, the ideal trade, which is what I should have taken. And I'll go over what I saw. So basically, the main thing with my trade idea was this low volume node that I had marked out. And you can see, that's one entry, that's another entry. And you can clearly see it was a low volume node here on the volume profile. I believe there was another one here. Yeah, here you can still clearly see it's low volume. So this was just low volume created off open. I can't remember the exact range. I feel like that's something that I can probably get better at doing is marking out the low volume nodes on my trading view chart. And just be quicker with switching between the tick chart on TopSip and the actual chart on TradingView because, and I'll go over where this comes into play. But the first attempt was off of, I believe, this candle. So on the 3 minute, it actually looks a bit better. The first attempt was off of this rejection at the 0.5. Let's say I took something like, I think it was 659. I can't remember. Probably like that. And then I was starting this. I know it was like a 2R, but this was kind of the entry that I was looking at, and I got stopped out pretty much immediately. But I kind of like the idea. It was this right here. So we trade into this low volume node. Um, and I noticed we had like these orders come on at the 24,600. And when I saw the failed selling right below VWAP and we recover above it, retest it, then I also saw, if we open this really quick, which one was it? I think it was this one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was this one. So this right here, retest of VWAP, got a break, pretty clean entry, just no follow through. I was also like barely tapped into the low line note, which is I'm okay with this loss. I'm totally fine with this loss. Um, One thing that I could probably take away from this is the low volume node was like all the way down to like the 70s probably, like 570s. So if the entry was like here, that's better. Um, Maybe right at the 0.5 or something. But yeah, I unfortunately did got stopped out on that first attempt, and I feel like it started getting to my head off of that. But yeah, then after that, I saw a another trade, which was this right here. So saw more failed selling, right? Kind of retested that low volume node, failed to like break through it, and we're kind of like sustaining VWAP, and then we got not as much of a clean break. Where is it? I think it's this one. Yeah, it's not as clean as a break as you'd want it to see. So it's iffy. Um, for this trade, the main thing is I think at this point I was thinking we saw the orders come on at 24,600. They got pulled on my first attempt. I'm like, cool. Then they got put right back on. Like they were off for like probably a minute. They got put right back on. For the second attempt, I should have just waited and see if this got filled because it's at that low volume node. So it's like it's adding a level of confluence to it, and I believe this actually lines up perfectly with the 618 of New York range and previous day's high. So we broke through previous day's high with strength. Remember how I mentioned I wanted to see a reaction of previous day's high or how we reacted to it? We just displaced through it. So if we retested with the 618 with a low volume node, and a passive buyer defending there, that's something. I'm just saying, right? I think there were also orders here before that we displaced through. So um, I'm not entirely sure if one of the pictures shows it. Maybe. No, I don't think it does. But yeah. So the ideal trade was, I tried a second long. I can't remember exactly where, but a deal entry was during the formation of this candle, and 630 was like the ideal entry, and it's really based on this break right here. So this is where you get your entry at 630, maybe 635, 630 and a quarter. We get a low, a higher low, and then a break. So this is pretty solid. We're filling in the orders at 600. We're failing. Kind of, we hold them once and then we break through them. So yeah, they just, those buyers are actually getting rewarded, right? We barely put these buyers like what? 20 points in drawdown, which is nothing. So you could have just limit ordered 600, put a 30-point stop on there, right? Like limit 600, say 24,600. Put your stop, what, 24,570 below that low volume and target all the way up here to this previous week's POC. That's a 4.58 R. And this would have played out insanely well. Took a while, but yeah, there you go. TP. my dumbass decided it was a good idea to not take those trades. And I just didn't take the best trades. Um, so this was the first one, right? So entry there at 565. Um, that's pretty much what the trade was. The trade was still valid. That's something that I should have realized in the moment. I'm okay with this first loss, but then the second loss is the one that I'm like not the biggest fan of, which is not the best entry. We also have that 820 VWAP, which is kind of like a pre-market VWAP, something that a friend of mine that's already profitable does. He puts on the 820 VWAP, but yeah, um, that's pretty much it. And like, if I'm being honest, it's just unfortunate, right? Because and then I decided to short some of this. Like, I was expecting the low volume to break, and I just shorted it when we filled those orders at 600, and we were like holding below them. So that's like just so stupid. It was like, why? So the first trade, cool. Second trade, could have been more patient on the entry, got a better entry. If I got that, then the next two trades would not have happened. That short was just plain stupid, pure monkey brain, no explaining. I can't even remember my thought process behind it. Honestly, like I just remember I wanted the low volume node to break through, so it didn't make sense at all. In terms of ICT, you also had this 5 minute gap that was holding. We traded into consequent encroachment of this gap here on the 5 minute. Clearly respected it nicely. So even if you entered, like, say on the 5 minute close, stop at the wick and target that, you're still getting a solid RR. Still getting a 1.64 RR. You could extend for the fixed 2R. You get your 120 points. You know, the trade was there, and I just failed to catch it. That's really all it is. But then I looked for a short, which the short was pretty nice actually. So we had some orders at like 750, filled them, and then we were kind of stalling out. We were failing. We got a retest. I saw this. I'm like, this could be nice for a scalp. And I saw this break on the tech chart, and you can see it actually gave a pretty nice move. We moved like what, from 729 all the way to 670, right? That's what, 30 plus 30, probably like 60 points. And I went a bit break even. It was a very, very small loss, though. It's like $186. I also like pretty much full ported the remaining drawdown, which was, I was seeing big numbers. I could have recovered my loss in that one trade. But yeah, that's also an unhealthy habit. Definitely won't be doing that again. I think I just crashed out for no reason. So it is what it is, right? I feel like my analysis was good, and this is just another day that proves to me I know what I'm doing, and I should be able to catch these trades just based off trusting my analysis. On top of that, if you use SMTs, we had an SMT at New York Open Low. We had an SMT with this 1 hour gap, right? So um, ES actually traded towards that New York overnight VWAP, held it. So that just adds more confidence. So maybe that makes you a bit sketched out. I remember on the first trade, I was sketched out by how ES was moving, because it didn't look like we displaced through previous high. But after this, price just ran, bro. Price just freaking ran. Um, so yes, actually ended up getting above previous high. It got a retest there. Um, it was around the same time NQ gave an entry down up here. Um, Maybe you took this, fixed 2R, fixed 3R, or whatever, you would have banged pretty nicely. But yeah, It's just one of those days where, you know, we had a good analysis and I just didn't stick to it. Didn't really stick to it for no reason. Like there was no reason for me to not to stick to it. And yeah, we learned our lesson, and now we have to claw our way out of drawdown with not that many days left on our rebuild date, which is kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And now we have a pretty short week, so we're gonna have to see if we're actually able to pull off a recovery on Dayham. I feel like we can, um, but we'll see. We shall see what happens. Um, Gonna probably drag this out all the way to like probably two. Yeah. Um. Let me see. There we go. So we have some pip levels there that we could trade from. Um. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. I've done my recap. I've done my journaling for it, and yeah, I feel like that's about all we can do. Um, and I'm probably just gonna head to bed now. It is a bit late, so don't want to overextend my don't want to butcher my bedtime too much because at the end of the day we want to be well rested for tomorrow's session. That's another thing. I feel like I did a decent job of waking up early today, and then I just ended up crashing out for no reason. So it is what it is. I feel like all we can do now is try our best to catch those good opportunities, trust our analysis, yeah, move on to the next day. Because at the end of the day, that's pretty much the best thing we can do. And yeah, that wraps up today's trading recap. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you if you watch it all the way through. Um, I am kind of down because we had a horrible day. Now we have like $750 left to draw down, which is recoverable, right? It's not like the end of the world. And if we lose the account, TopStep came out with new prices and they're pretty nice. So, yeah, it's like we can recover from it, and I feel like we can do pretty nicely with it. So, yeah. Um, I guess that wraps up today's trading recap, and hopefully I'll catch y'all tomorrow with a banger trade. And now we just got to do our best to go on a freaking winning streak and recover this account. I feel like I can pull it off. If I play my cards right, I can pull it off pretty nicely. All right, y'all. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.